So today we're going to be talking about drawing noses. And I want to show you some common mistakes and things that I see when students who are beginning artists don't know how to draw a nose. So sometimes I see a focus on the bridge of the nose and not really sure how to make it attached to the rest of the face. Sometimes I see the curve of the nostrils and the ball of the nose, but no focus on the bridge of the nose. And then on the other side, I often see this, which is someone drawing a front-facing face and a side-facing nose. This looks like somebody took your nose and then pushed it down to the side. Today we want to get rid of these like more simplistic ways to draw noses and really focus on trying to get something that's a little bit more realistic. Now, there are a lot of different kinds of nose shapes out there. You're going to have people that have a wider ball of the nose and nostril set. You're going to have people that have a taller ball of the nose. You're going to have some people's nose that kind of turns up a little bit. Today I'm just going to give you the basics for how to draw a nose, and when you're drawing a specific person's nose, you have to look at the shape of theirs, but this basic stuff that I'm going to show you today should help you be able to discern how to do that, okay? You'll notice by looking at these that the way to make a nose look 3D has nothing to do with the lines that you draw and more to do with the shading. So, today when we are working on this, you've got to start thinking about shading things to look 3D. And to do that, you have to think about the surfaces that you are shading. A nose actually has multiple planes on it. And when I say plane, I don't mean flying overhead planes. I mean flat surfaces that make up a complex shape. So you'll have the bridge of the nose, and then there's little microplanes along the side of the nose within what we call the wings of the nostrils and the undersides of the nose, things like that. As we're drawing today, I'm going to keep this as simple as we can for our first warm-up of doing this, but when you are drawing a nose and when we are shading it, you really have to think about the way the light would be hitting a surface and where it would be darkest and things like that. To get started today, you're going to need a sheet of paper and a pencil, probably an eraser, and either a blending stump or a little bit of tissue or paper towel to help you blend. You probably want to be drawing with a regular 2B pencil. If we were doing a very detailed drawing, obviously we'd get out all of our drawing pencils, but today is just a warm-up, okay? So, as we are getting ready to get started, you will be drawing along with me to the best of your ability. We're going to do one as a guided practice, and on the same sheet, you will then do one on your own after it, and we will be submitting this as a classwork grade today. All right, so step number 1. Okay, the first thing that we want to do when drawing a nose is draw the shape of what we call the ball of the nose. That is this part right here, okay? So as I said, some people will have a ball of the nose that's kind of wide. Some people will have one that's kind of tall. Some people will have one that's more like a little button kind of shape. It doesn't matter to me what shape you make. I'm just going to start with a basic one I'm going to make like a little kind of just regular rounded nose shape, okay? You don't want to draw too dark because we're going to blend the sides of this out soon. So you just start with a ball of the nose, okay? Then the nose actually kind of goes back on your face. It sticks out from your face. We're going to make a letter V shape that's right under that ball of the nose. That's the little part between your nostrils, okay? So that part is this part right here that is going to be shaded to represent the space between your nostrils and where the ball of the nose begins, okay? On either side of that, we're going to kind of make a wide letter M, okay? And this is going to help us know where our nostrils are going to be. Now, everybody has a different shape to their nostril, but an easy way to think of it is not so much a circle, but almost like a comma or an apostrophe shape. And I'm going to use that M to help me make that shape. I'm going to make it on one side and then the other, okay? So it doesn't have to be perfectly even. but you're going to get something that looks like this. And I know right now this does not look like a nose, but I promise we're going to get there. So you've got the basic ball of the nose, you've got that V shape that goes back. We added these little guidelines to help us make our nostril holes. So, and then we know that these aren't perfect circles. They kind of have a point that comes towards that V, gets wider, and then goes back. Okay. Now, we have the wings of the nose. The wings of the nose are the part that just kind of wraps around. So I'm just going to, starting kind of at the center of that, I'm going to take this, I'm going to go all the way up the side to touch the edge of the nose, the ball of the nose there. So starting in the center, wrapping around, going up to the edge, okay? All right. From there, I'm just really lightly going to make the bridge of the nose. I don't need it to be perfect, and that kind of gets more narrow as it goes back. And I'm just going to point this out. You don't have to do it. This is where it would go up and become part of the eyebrow, okay? So we're not going to end up doing all the eyes, but we've already practiced eyes, so this would help you know that this is the part where it goes up and makes the eye socket, okay? But we're going to stay focused on this part right now. Once I have in place the ball of the nose, the V that shows me the in-between space, both nostrils, the wings on either side, and the bridge of the nose that goes back, I can start shading. So make sure you have nearby either your blending stump or a little piece of paper towel to help blend. Okay. Now, this part of the nose, notice how I'm making this kind of curve shape. We want to shade this part of the nose by light, and we can start light and get darker, but I'm kind of shading, going curving side to side like this, and it should be a little bit darker towards the back and get a little bit lighter as it comes up. And I'm going to take it past that V and put a little bit right there on the end of my nose, as the ball of my nose as well. Okay? All right. And then I'm going to use that, and I'm going to go the other way and blend a little bit. I'm shading a little bit, again, not too dark, but I'm following the curve going the opposite direction. So this way I curved like this, and then this way I'm curving like this. I'm following the contour of the nostril there. Okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take either my blending stump or a paper towel, and I'm just going to follow those curves again. I'm going to curve back and forth this way, blending it. I'm going to go past where I was. So I'm going past where I stopped the pencil. And notice I'm just kind of like gently smudging it, okay? Now this is the underside of the nose, okay? It's underneath, so it's going to have the most shadow. And then I'm going to blend this way around my nostril. In a second we're going to make that nostril kind of dark, but we want to put this in place first. Alright, so now I've shaded this part. Alright. We know that the nostril itself is going to be the darkest, and it's going to be darkest at the top and then getting a little lighter as it comes down, because it'll get a little bit of light inside of there. So darkest at the top, lightest as it comes down. Okay? And I can kind of smudge that a little bit too. Can also kind of use it to pull around and make this part a little bit darker if I feel like I need to. All of this is dark because it is the under part of the nose, and it makes it look like it's going back. Once I've got that, then I think about the fact that these wings of the nose attach to the side of the face. I'm going to lightly put a little bit of shadow along that part of the underside of the nose as well. Okay. Before I smudge that, I'm going to think about the fact that maybe my light source is on this side and kind of up high, so I'm going to make this side of my nose a little bit darker. Obviously, when you're really looking at a nose, you'd have to discern where the light source is. But because this side I've decided is going to be the more shadowed side, where the wing of the nostril gets close to the ball of the nose, I'm making a little triangle shape of shadow right here, okay? And then I'm also going to gently shade, kind of thinking about like if I ran my finger down the side of my nose, how it would have a little bit of a shadow along the side there, and it would kind of go almost up and down. Okay, and then I might put a little bit more of a shadow here and here. Okay, now here's where the blending really starts. I'm going to take this and I'm going to shade and use my blending stump to kind of just shade this part, and I might shade, thinking about the bridge of the nose, I can go both up and down and at an angle that wraps around. I think about like when you're shading a nose or anything like this, you just think about how if I ran my finger over it, how it would actually feel and move. Okay, I can think about like, you know, kind of blending a little bit more, pulling that shadow a little bit further over, and keep kind of like blending even along the side with the light a little bit. Okay, darker on one side, a little lighter on this side. I didn't use my pencil on this side, I'm just using my blending stump. You could use just your paper towel. And then on the bridge of the nose, actually the part where the ball of the nose kind of connects to the bridge, you would have a little bit more, see how I kind of like pulled this over? It would kind of blend around like that. Okay, now to me this doesn't have enough contrast. It's all kind of flat colored and like 1 or 2 scale value here. So I'm going to go back in, I'm going to make it a little bit darker down under here. I'm going to make it a little darker under here. You want to have at least 2 or 3 different values so that I can get a darker shadow, a mid-tone, and a highlight. Okay, we can always go back in and use our eraser to pull out the highlights if this gets too dark too. So I'm just going to go around. And part of this is there's not great words for it. You just kind of have to watch and practice and learn from practice. Okay. The biggest thing that you should know though is I should be able to see a difference between the shadows that are under the nose, and I'm just going to make this a little bit obvious by making this line. The shadows that are on the under part of the nose, the part that is underneath and going back where the nostrils are, should be darker than the values on the other side, than up here. So if they got too close to the same value, you want to go back in and make those ones a little bit darker. Alright, and I would keep smudging and blending until my nose looks super good. If I feel like it got too dark in one area, like I'm going to make this too dark just so you can see what I mean. If I've colored it too much and it's too, like I'm not getting any highlights, then I take my eraser and I go back and I think about the curve and I think about where that light might hit it and how it might be more rounded until I get something that looks like a nose. And again, this is connected to the way it will connect to the mouth and the cheeks and the eyes. So it just sets up the way, it's the middle point really of your face, and it connects, it's the connection point between where your eyes and mouth are. So, but it does have to have real consideration to how you shade it to make it look as 3D as you can. I like to have a little bit of texture. I also like to be able to not have like perfectly blended shadows because I just think it looks more natural. So at the end I tend to go back in and add a little bit of extra pencil over the blended. Just makes, to me, it makes it look more natural because it's not always perfectly blended shadows. We're not all airbrushed all the time. So what you will do is you'll perfect the one that we've worked on here together. And then I want you to photograph your own nose, and using that as a reference, notice the way the shadows hit it, and thinking about how you're going to get that underneath part versus the part along the side. We're going to photograph from the front though, because I want you to be able to do it from the front. You can have a friend or a classmate at your table take the picture, or you can set up your camera on a timer and take your picture that way. At the end of class today, you should be able to submit the nose that is our guided practice and your own nose, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with.